Peppa Pig and the Noisy Bucket. Peppa notices an ordinary bucket that doesn't seem ordinary today. One gentle tap, and the bucket replies with a fun sound. George taps harder, and the bucket sounds even more excited. Soon the bucket turns into an unexpected musical instrument. After the performance, the bucket needs a little rest. Peppa and George learn that sometimes fun comes from the simplest things. Peppa Pig and the flying umbrella. It looks like it's going to rain today, and Peppa has her umbrella ready. But Peppa soon discovers the wind has other plans. In a flash, the umbrella flies into the air without asking anyone. The umbrella looks very happy, as if it has always dreamed of flying. Whoa! Finally, it lands gently on the grass, satisfied after its short adventure. Peppa learns that sometimes even familiar things want to explore the world.
Peppa and the shared raincoat. It's a rainy day. Peppa wears her raincoat, but George forgot his. George looks cold and sad. Peppa worries for her little brother. Peppa smiles and pulls George under her coat. They giggle together. Mummy Pig brings another coat. You're so sweet when you share. After the rain, the family watches a rainbow. Peppa says, sharing makes everything warmer, even rainy days. Peppa Pig and the toy car race with George. Peppa and George get their toy cars ready for a fun race.
Let's go!
They place the cars at the starting line, Daddy Pig cheering them on eagerly. The cars zoom across the floor, Peppa and George laughing with excitement. George accidentally pushes his car too hard into a pillow, making Peppa giggle.
Come on, keep going!
The race ends in a tie, and both laugh as Daddy and Mummy Pig cheer. Peppa and George were playing in the park when suddenly some balloons started floating in the air. Both of them decided to chase after the flying balloons, but they kept floating higher and higher. George jumped as high as he could to catch one, but sadly, he still couldn't reach it. Peppa found a chair to climb on, stretching her hands out, but the balloon floated even further away. Finally, One balloon gently floated down near Peppa and George, and they were thrilled to catch it. Peppa and George realized that sometimes the simplest joys bring the happiest moments.
Peppa Pig and the melting cake. Peppa is very excited about the cake, especially on a sunny day like this. But the sun has its own plans for the cake. The cake seems to be changing shape right before their eyes. Peppa tries to save the cake, but the sunshine doesn't cooperate. Even though it's no longer perfect, the cake still looks delicious. Peppa and George learn that sometimes fun doesn't need to be perfect to be sweet.
Peppa Pig and the Night Garden. Peppa was fast asleep, moonlight shining softly through the window. In her dream, Peppa stepped into a glowing garden filled with flowers that lit up the night. George appeared in the garden, and together they laughed and played among the shining flowers. A glowing butterfly flew around Peppa, guiding them deeper into the magical garden. George woke up in the night, hearing Peppa giggle in her dream. He yawned, smiled, and pulled the blanket over himself to sleep again. Peppa Pig and the Dancing Leaf. Peppa finds a big leaf in the yard and picks it up. George approaches as the leaf gently shakes.
Whoa!
The leaf twirls around and dances across the yard. Wow! They imagine following it into a sparkling garden.
Yahoo!
The wind settles, and they pick up the leaf with a smile.
Peppa Pig and the Shooting Star Train. A shooting star streaks across the night sky, surprising Peppa and George. It lands and turns into a glowing train in their yard. The train doors open, inviting them aboard. They travel through starry skies past constellations and planets. The train returns them home, leaving a shining star ticket behind.
Peppa Pig and the Rainy Day Adventure. Peppa and George put on raincoats, ready to explore the rainy day with their parents. Peppa jumped into a puddle. George followed. Daddy Pig joined in happily. Mummy Pig held an umbrella, guiding Peppa and George, raindrops sparkling on the leaves. Peppa spotted a frog hopping in a puddle. George cheered. Peppa clapped her hands. The family jumped into bigger puddles, laughing, water splashing everywhere. The family went home, wet but happy. Daddy Pig promised to make delicious hot chocolate. Peppa and the shared lunch. Today, there's a new friend, Wendy Wolf, who forgot her lunch.
Hey!
Peppa looks at her 2 sandwiches and thinks of Wendy sitting quietly. Let's share, says Peppa. Wendy smiles happily. Everyone shares their food. The playground fills with laughter. Madame Gazelle smiles. Sharing warms both the heart and the tummy.
Peppa Pig and the hat that wouldn't stay still. Peppa loves her new hat. It looks perfect and fits just right. But the hat doesn't seem to agree with its position. Peppa carefully fixes the hat, and it immediately chooses a new spot. George finds this very funny. The hat looks like it's playing a game. Finally, the hat decides to rest for a while on the grass. Peppa learns that sometimes being comfortable is better than wearing a perfect hat.
Peppa and George stood on the grass, seeing a big banner. Funny dance contest. George did a flip in the air, making Peppa laugh happily. Peppa tried dancing to the music, but slipped on a leaf, both of them laughing uncontrollably. Daddy and Mummy Pig stood beside them, clapping and cheering them on. Finally, Peppa and George received their medals, and the whole family hugged and laughed together. Peppa Pig and the Mysterious Island. Peppa and George are playing on the sand when they find an old treasure map washed ashore. Excitement fills their hearts as they imagine the adventure ahead. Peppa opens the treasure map, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. George watches beside her, and both giggle joyfully at the idea of finding a secret treasure. They cross a pretend forest and climb little rocks, laughing as if conquering great challenges. Finally, they discover a small chest hidden under a bush. Inside is a treasure of old toys and candies, and they cheer with delight. Mummy Pig steps out, smiling as she watches Peppa and George enjoy their little treasure. Their imagination fills the house with laughter. The whole family sits around the treasure chest, sharing stories and laughing together. A magical afternoon of adventure ends in happiness.
Peppa Pig and the Rainbow Door. A beam of sunlight forms a bright rainbow on the wall, catching Peppa and George's attention. The rainbow turns into a glowing door, gently inviting them inside. They step through and discover a colorful valley with low-flowing clouds. They slide down Rainbow Hills surrounded by sparkling light. The door brings them home, leaving a tiny glowing spark as a memory.
Peppa and George packed the picnic basket with Mummy Pig, bringing bread, fruit, and drinks. The family walked into the colorful flower garden with bees and butterflies flying around.
Hey!
Peppa picked a red rose. George picked a sunflower, both laughing happily. Daddy Pig lifted Peppa to reach a tall flower. Peppa raised her hand excitedly. George curiously watched a snail crawling on a leaf. The family sat on the picnic blanket, eating bread, drinking water, and enjoying the beautiful garden view. Peppa and George were playing in the garden when they spotted a giant toy car rolling toward them. George quickly climbed into the toy car, took the wheel, and laughed happily as the car started rolling. Peppa tried to chase the car, but it was too fast, making her run after it. Mummy Pig saw them and reminded, "Be careful, don't let the car roll too far." Peppa and George took turns driving the toy car, going over small tree stumps in the garden. Finally, the toy car stopped, and Peppa and George got out, laughing joyfully from their fun adventure. Peppa Pig and the Mysterious Ladder. Peppa and George notice a small ladder leaning against the wall, curious where it leads. They climb up, hearts racing with excitement to discover the secret above. At the top, they find a small chest filled with old toys and storybooks. They open the chest, laughing and marveling at each item with sparkling eyes. Daddy Pig and Mummy Pig join them, and the whole family plays together, enjoying a warm, happy time. Peppa Pig and the Rainbow Rain. It's raining outside, and Peppa and George watch the raindrops slide down the window, wondering when a rainbow will appear. The rain stops, and sunlight peeks through the clouds. Peppa happily grabs her umbrella and runs outside with George to find the rainbow. A big, colorful rainbow arches across the sky. Peppa skips with joy, while George points up in amazement. In their imagination, Peppa and George slide down the rainbow like a giant, colorful slide, laughing as they glide through fluffy clouds. As the rainbow fades, Peppa and George lie on the grass, smiling softly, knowing that every rain brings a little magic. Peppa Pig and the Mysterious Sweet Box. Peppa and George spot a mysterious sweet box on the living room sofa. When Peppa opens it, the sweet smell spreads through the room.
Oh?
George grabs a treat and giggles happily, making Peppa laugh too. They try each sweet with sparkling excitement.
Huh?
Daddy Pig walks in, and Peppa and George happily run to share the tasty treats with him.
Peppa Pig and the clock that rang at the wrong time. Everything is calm and peaceful until the clock suddenly rings, even though it's clearly not the right time. Peppa notices the wall clock. The hands aren't moving, but the bell is very busy. George takes a closer look, and as if answering him, the clock rings again. Peppa gently touches the clock, and it immediately proves that it loves attention. Suddenly, the minute hand spins quickly, as if the clock is trying to catch up with time. In the end, the clock goes quiet again. Peppa and George learn that sometimes time just needs a reminder that everyone is having fun. Peppa Pig and the never-ending puddle. After the rain, Peppa and George discover a puddle that looks bigger than usual. Peppa jumps in, but strangely, the puddle doesn't get any smaller. George jumps in too. Lots of splashing, but the puddle still won't disappear. If the puddle never ends, then the best idea is to keep playing. The more they jump, the higher the splashes, and the more fun they have. Peppa and George learn that the best puddles are the ones you can enjoy again and again. Peppa Pig and the box that wouldn't stay still. Everything is calm until a box rolls into the yard all by itself, as if it knows exactly where it's going. The box looks perfectly normal, except it refuses to stay still for even a second. Every time Peppa tries to open it, the box rolls away. Clearly it loves playing hide and seek. George tries to block its path, but the box is very good at avoiding him, especially avoiding George. In the end, the box chooses the simplest way to stop by rolling straight into a puddle. Inside the mysterious box is a very small bowl. And Peppa and George learn that sometimes the noisiest things hide the simplest surprises.
Peppa Pig and the Talking Rainbow. After the rain, a rainbow appeared, smiling at Peppa.
Aha!
The rainbow greeted Peppa warmly. Peppa jumped in surprise, while George laughed joyfully. Each color has a feeling. Red for joy, blue for calm. Peppa and George danced beneath it, surrounded by sparkles. As the rainbow faded, Peppa still heard laughter in the wind. Maybe the rainbow was still watching. Peppa Pig and the Musical Puddle. Peppa and George discover a sparkling puddle after the gentle rain.
Wow!
George jumps in, and a soft ting sound rings out. Peppa jumps into another spot, creating a second playful sound. They hop around making a funny little melody together. The whole family joins in, creating their cheerful puddle concert.
Peppa Pig and the Trash Can Race. Peppa and George discover old trash can vehicles in the yard and come up with a fun idea. Peppa jumps onto a trash can vehicle while George watches curiously. Let's go! The race begins. Peppa's trash can zooms ahead. George follows closely, both cheering happily. George accidentally crashes into a pile of toys, making Peppa giggle as she races past. Yahoo! The race ends with laughter as the whole family enjoys the moment together.
Peppa Pig and the Fishing Day Adventure. Peppa and George brought fishing rods to the lake, Daddy and Mummy Pig following, the lake sparkling in the sun. Peppa cast her line into the water. George watched the surface, eagerly waiting. Daddy Pig accidentally dropped his fishing rod into the lake. Peppa and George giggled. Peppa caught a flower floating on the water. George cheered, and the whole family laughed with delight. The family packed up. Peppa and George waved goodbye to the lake, promising to come back next time. Peppa and George were walking when they discovered a mysterious vegetable garden with tall, colorful plants. George curiously touched a giant carrot, while Peppa picked up a pumpkin almost as big as her head.
Wow!
Mummy Pig entered the garden, smiling and said, "Look, kids! These vegetables are really special." Peppa and George played hopping through the tall plants, laughing joyfully across the garden. Daddy Pig appeared with a small cart so the whole family could harvest the vegetables together. Finally, the whole family stood in the garden, admiring the colorful pumpkins, carrots, and greens, happily taking a family photo. Peppa and George couldn't believe their eyes when they saw a piece of bread flying through the air. They decided to chase the flying bread, but it was fast and looped around like a plane. It seemed like this piece of bread wasn't easy to catch, and it took a quick break on a tree branch. Surely this bread knew how to play tag, and Peppa seemed to be its favorite target. After an adventure, Peppa finally caught the flying bread and smiled happily. Finally, Peppa and George realize that sometimes the best adventures are when you can enjoy the fruits of your efforts.
Peppa Pig and the Secret Garden Map. While playing in the garden, Peppa and George discover a mysterious piece of paper. Peppa opens it and realizes it is a hand-drawn map filled with strange symbols. They follow the map through the garden, exploring familiar places in a new way. Under a big tree, they uncover a small hidden box. Wow! The box reveals colorful stones, ending the little adventure with warm smiles.
Peppa and the giant blue balloon. Peppa runs into the yard and discovers a giant blue balloon lying on the grass. George taps the balloon lightly. It makes a boing sound that makes him burst into laughter. Daddy Pig is dozing off on the porch. The giant balloon rolls into his foot, waking him for a moment before he falls back asleep. Peppa and George push the giant balloon around the yard, laughing each time it bounces high. Peppa and George keep playing, pushing the balloon back and forth, while Daddy Pig continues sleeping peacefully on the porch.
Peppa Pig and the strange noise in the garden. The garden is calm and quiet until a strange rustling sound comes from the bushes.
Hey! Hey!
The noise isn't loud, but it's curious enough that Peppa and George can't ignore it. Peppa bravely moves closer, while George chooses a safer spot behind her. It turns out the sound was just the wind, but Peppa and George aren't fully convinced yet. And then, the loudest noise in the garden comes from George stepping on a dry leaf. Peppa and George learn that sometimes the scariest things are just in our imagination.
Peppa and George's walk today suddenly turned into an adventure with a giant balloon. The balloon flies easily, but does Peppa have enough strength to hold on? Don't worry, Peppa. George won't let you fly too far. Or at least, that's what she hopes.
Go!
And then, the balloon takes Peppa higher. No way to come back. Peppa realizes that a flight isn't always smooth, but at least it's fun. Finally, the balloon gently lands Peppa back on the ground, and George is ready for his next race with the balloon. Peppa Pig and the Starry Night. The night sky unfolds, deep blue and sprinkled with twinkling stars. Peppa and George sit on the porch, eyes wide with wonder. Daddy Pig brings out a small telescope. Peppa and George jump excitedly, ready for their starry adventure. They sit on the roof, peering through the telescope at the distant stars, sparkling like diamonds. A shooting star streaks across the sky. Peppa and George point excitedly, eyes filled with delight. Mummy Pig steps out and stands beside Daddy Pig, amazed as the sky fills entirely with shooting stars. Under the gentle moonlight, Peppa and George hold their parents' hands, feeling peaceful and happy on this magical night. Peppa and the shared umbrella. It's a rainy morning, and Peppa brings her favorite pink umbrella. She sees Wendy Wolf getting wet under a tree. Peppa smiles and shares her umbrella with Wendy. They walk together, splashing puddles and singing happily. Madame Gazelle says, "Sharing is wonderful." Peppa and Wendy smile under the pink umbrella. Peppa Pig and the mushroom picking adventure. Peppa and George took baskets into the forest. Daddy and Mummy Pig followed, everyone excited to explore. Peppa saw brown mushrooms growing on the grass, pointed and cheered. George jumped with joy. Daddy Pig showed Peppa how to pick mushrooms gently. Mummy Pig took photos. George picked a big mushroom, dropping smaller ones. Peppa laughed and helped him pick them up. The family placed mushrooms into their baskets, laughing the forest fresh and green. The family left the forest with full baskets. Mummy Pig promised to make a delicious mushroom soup.
Peppa Pig and the strange-sounding trumpet. Peppa finds a toy trumpet that looks very ordinary. But when she tries to blow it, the sound is very different. George is startled at first, then becomes curious. Peppa blows more gently, and the trumpet immediately changes its mood. It turns out the trumpet likes to be played in its own way. Peppa and George learn that sometimes listening is just as important as making noise. Peppa Pig and the giant ball. Everything seems normal until Peppa and George notice a giant ball rolling straight into their backyard. The ball is enormous, but Peppa is determined because for Peppa, bigger always means more fun. The ball rolls across the grass, leaving funny circles behind, and Peppa laughs with every spin. George joins in, and together they try to control the giant ball, or at least try their best. And then, splash! The ball hits a puddle, sending water everywhere and turning the fun up even more. In the end, Peppa and George learn that sometimes all you need for great fun is a giant ball and lots of laughter.
Peppa Pig and the giant leaf in the wind. While playing outside, Peppa and George suddenly see a giant yellow leaf fall in front of them. Peppa picks it up, but a strong gust of wind blows it right out of her hands. George quickly chases after the leaf, with Peppa laughing and running behind him. The leaf spins through the air and lands gently near a flower bush. They pick up the leaf and run to show it to Mummy Pig, feeling happy and excited. Peppa and the toy treasure chest. Peppa finds a strange little chest buried in the sand. Everyone gathers around curiously, surprised and delighted. They huddle together as Peppa opens the chest. Inside are many toys. Each friend takes one and giggles happily. They run around playing joyfully with their new treasures. By sunset, they all head to Peppa's house, still bouncing with excitement. Peppa was surprised to see a strange hat on the grass.
Whoa!
George ran over and touched it, lights twinkling from the hat.
Whoa!
Peppa put the hat on. Bubbles of light floated across the garden. Magical indeed. George tried the hat too, bubbles swirling around them, making them laugh out loud. The bubbles rose and settled on the tree branches, sparkling in the sunlight. They took off the hat, bubbles faded, but the magical joy lingered in the garden. Peppa Pig and the Dance Day Adventure. Peppa and George stood in the living room. Daddy and Mummy Pig prepared music.
Wow!
Peppa bounced to the music. George spun around happily, both smiling brightly. Daddy Pig tried to dance along, stumbled a bit. Peppa and George giggled. Mummy Pig helped Daddy Pig keep the rhythm. Peppa and George danced around, clapping to the music. Peppa and George danced continuously, spinning and raising their hands. The whole family laughed joyfully. The family sat together on the couch, relaxing after dancing, laughing and resting happily. Peppa's Forest Picnic. Today, Peppa's family goes on a picnic in the forest. George chases a butterfly, making Peppa giggle. Mummy Pig sets up lunch while Daddy Pig finds a shady spot. Peppa shares apples with everyone, and George hugs her happily. The family relaxes together, smiling under the peaceful sky. Peppa Pig and the Umbrella of Sharing. It's raining today. Peppa opens her pink umbrella and steps outside. George runs after her without one. George shivers as the rain falls. Peppa smiles and tilts her umbrella toward him. Suddenly, the umbrella wiggles, and says softly, "Sharing is the best thing, Peppa." Both giggle in surprise. Peppa and George hold hands, walking under the same umbrella as raindrops play a cheerful tune. When the rain stops, they rest under the porch, giggling together. Their laughter as bright as the sunshine after the rain. Peppa and the Little Paper Boat. After the rain, Peppa folds a paper boat.
Whoa!
She sets it on the puddle, and it begins to float. The wind makes the boat move around like magic.
Whoa!
Daddy Pig blows gently to make it go faster. The family relaxes together on the porch, talking about the boat's adventure. Peppa's magical camping night. Today, Peppa's family goes camping by the forest.
Whoa!
Peppa and George roast marshmallows. So yummy! As the stars twinkle, Peppa gazes at the sparkling night sky. Daddy Pig tells a funny, spooky story, making everyone laugh. Under the moonlight, the family falls asleep, dreaming of more adventures. Peppa Pig and the Giant Paper Crane.
Yahoo!
After the rain, a small stream appears in the yard, drawing Peppa and George's curiosity. Wow! A giant glowing paper crane floats toward them like magic. It lifts them gently into a magical journey around the garden. It carries them through a star-filled universe with shimmering planets. At the end, it brings them home and shrinks into Peppa's hand like a mysterious gift.
Peppa Pig and the strange noisy clock. Everything is very quiet until Peppa and George hear a strange sound they have never heard before. It turns out to be a clock, but not an ordinary one. It's big, it's loud, and it clearly loves attention.
Oh!
Every time the clock hand moves, the whole garden seems to wiggle along, and Peppa finds it very exciting. George decides to touch it. The clock immediately responds with an even louder sound, very much its own style. No one knows what this clock is really for, but it is very good at turning everything into a game. In the end, the clock becomes quiet, and Peppa and George realize that time goes fastest when you're having fun.
Peppa Pig and the dream of flying to the stars. Peppa was sleeping in bed, moonlight shining into the room, eyes closed. Peppa dreamed she was floating in the sky among the stars. George appeared in the dream, both flying past the sparkling stars. Wow! Peppa and George played among the constellations, spinning and holding hands. Peppa woke up, smiling, looking out the window at the moon and twinkling stars, dreaming of her next adventure. Peppa Pig and the Little Paper Boat. Peppa makes a paper boat and places it in a puddle. George watches the boat drift slowly. A breeze pushes it forward, and they run after it. In their imagination, the boat becomes big and carries them along sparkling water. The wind stops, and they pick up the little boat, smiling. Peppa and George were walking near a sparkling, crystal-clear lake.
Whoa!
Peppa set a paper boat out on the water, and George watched it float gently. Daddy Pig brought a small paddleboard, suggesting they could have a boat race. Peppa and George paddled lightly, laughing as their boat glided across the lake. Mommy Pig stood by the lake, taking pictures and reminding them, "Don't go too far." Finally, the whole family stood by the lake, admiring the sparkling water and enjoying a peaceful moment. Peppa and George couldn't believe their eyes.
Wow.
A giant truck was parked right in their yard. This truck is not only big but full of strange things inside. Peppa is curious and wants to try them all. George tried to push the giant wheel, but he might need a bit more strength to move it. No worries. Peppa decides to drive the giant truck, but it seems it's not as easy as she thought. Sometimes all it takes is a little push on the gas pedal to start an adventure, even if it's a bit out of control. Finally, the truck stops, and Peppa and George realize one thing. Sometimes the fun starts with the most random things. Peppa Pig and the Magical Garden. Peppa is playing when she suddenly kicks a softly glowing stone. When she sets it back down, a glowing sprout slowly rises from the ground. The sprout grows quickly into a shimmering magical flower bush. George runs over, and the two happily admire the glowing flowers. Finally, Peppa's whole family sits down to admire the giant flower tree. Peppa and George joyfully hop on the huge blossoms, feeling truly happy. Peppa and George were sitting in the yard when they looked up at the sky and saw a cloud shaped like a bear. Peppa pointed at the sky and said, "Look, this cloud looks like a bear sleeping." George mimicked the bear, lying down and pretending to sleep on the grass, making Peppa laugh loudly. Mummy Pig walked over and saw them, saying, "You both are so cute, just like real bears." Peppa and George stood up and began imitating bears, walking slowly around the yard, laughing happily. Finally, the whole family sat together in the yard, looking at the bear-shaped cloud and enjoying the simple joy of the moment. Peppa Pig and the soap bubble dance. Daddy Pig had just finished assembling a giant bubble machine in the backyard.
Ta-da!
The machine started blowing countless bubbles, and Peppa and George danced while chasing them. Daddy Pig tried dancing after the bubbles, but every step he took made them all pop. Mummy Pig turned on the giant bubble mode, surprising the whole family with huge floating bubbles. Peppa and George danced around the giant bubble, reaching for it as it floated higher. The family sat in front of the porch, relaxing while watching bubbles drift into the sky. Never thought that an afternoon walk would turn into a disco under the streetlight. This streetlight is like a DJ, and soon enough Peppa became the main dancer of the party. This might be the new dance craze in the park, and maybe only Peppa can do it like that. After non-stop dancing, Peppa decided to stop. But the streetlight didn't know what giving up meant. In the end, Peppa realized one thing. The streetlight in the park never stops partying. But Peppa could finally go home. The fun ended, but Peppa would never forget those offbeat dance moves in the park. Peppa helps Mummy Pig clean the house. Peppa and George are happily playing in the living room with toys scattered all over the floor. The room looks so messy. Mummy Pig walks in, looks around the messy room, and decides it's time to clean up. Peppa and George quickly say, "Let us do the cleaning ourselves." The two little ones start picking up toys and putting them into baskets. When they finish, Mummy Pig feels so proud of them. Gentle giggles fill the warm, cozy room. Hearing the laughter, Daddy Pig peeks in curiously. Oh no! He steps on George's toy car. It looks so funny. Peppa, George, and Mummy Pig burst out laughing. While Daddy Pig looks confused about why that toy is there. Peppa and George ran outside to play as the rain started. They jumped into puddles, splashing water everywhere. Mummy Pig brought raincoats and reminded them, "Be careful, don't slip." Daddy Pig appeared with a big umbrella, sheltering Peppa and George from the rain. Peppa found a giant puddle, carefully jumped in, and laughed with joy. Finally, the whole family stood under the umbrella, watching Peppa and George dance in the rain, laughing together. Peppa and George were watching the clouds, and today there was a special cloud, a cloud bus. Who needs a real bus when with just imagination, Peppa and George are already flying high? The clouds looked like strange creatures, and Peppa couldn't stop imagining they were dancing with her. Not just a cloud bus, now there's a cloud elephant greeting them. The ride through these clouds was magical, and they met even more cloud friends. Although the journey was just in their imagination, Peppa and George had an unforgettable adventure.